Hello everyone, welcome to the third lesson of the essay We Should All Be Feminists by Ngozi Adichie. Let us move on from where we stopped in the last class. Page number 13 towards the last. We do a great disservice to boys in how we raise them. We stifle the humanity of boys. We define masculinity in a very narrow way. Masculinity is a hard, small cage, and we put boys inside this cage. See, in this small para, Adichie says that we are not doing justice to our boys in the way we raise them. We suffocate, we stifle boys of our humanity. See, our idea of masculinity is very narrow. She metaphorically says that masculinity is a hard, small cage in which we put our boys and lock it. How this idea is explained by her, how we are doing injustice to our boys in our family. Let us see. We teach boys to be afraid of fear, of weakness, of vulnerability. We teach them to mask their true selves because they have to be, in Nigerian speak, a hard man. You can see that this is a correct observation, because we teach boys not to be afraid of anything, not to exhibit fear. If a boy is to exhibit fear, or if a boy cry, we tell them, you are a boy, you are a man, you are not supposed to cry. So our boys are afraid of exhibiting fear, afraid of displaying weakness, and afraid of vulnerability. Vulnerability means possibility of possibility of exposed to physical or emotional harm. So thus we can see that boys of our family or boys of our world are in great pressure. They are not allowed to show their real self. In secondary school, a boy and a girl go out, both of them teenagers, with meager pocket money. Meager pocket money means very small amount of pocket money. Yet the boy is expected to pay the bills and always to prove his masculinity. And we wonder why boys are more likely to steal money from their parents. So this is true in our country as well. When a man and a woman goes out, the man is expected to pay, even though the money they both had is very meager, very small in number. So because money and masculinity are somewhat equated, one had to spend money in order to prove their masculinity. So thus financially also our boys are facing injustice. What if boys and girls are raised not to link masculinity and money? So Adichie says that our boys and girls should be raised in such a way that they should not link masculinity and money. What if their attitude was not the boy has to pay, but rather whoever has more should pay. So this is the ideal approach. It is not the boy who has to pay. Instead, whoever has more should pay. That is the ideal attitude, she says. Of course, because of the historical advantage, it is mostly men who will have more today. So, as per the social conditions existing in our place, uh, most probably it will be man who will be having more amount of money with him. But if we start raising children differently, then in 50 years, in 100 years, boys will no longer have the pressure of proving their masculinity by material means. So, Adichie is hopeful that if we change our way of raising boys and girls, in the coming 50 years or 100 years, this attitude that man should spend money in order to support women, that attitude, or his pressure of having for pressure for proving masculinity by spending money should change. But by far the worst thing we do to males, by making them feel they have to be hard, is that we leave them with very fragile egos. So, what is the result of pressurizing our boys? The result is that we leave them with fragile egos. Fragile means easily broken. Ego means self-esteem. So this makes the uh, ego of our boys very fragile, easily broken. Their self-esteem easily broken. The harder a man feels compelled to be, the weaker his ego is. So a man who is regarded as rough and tough will be having a weaker ego because a lot is expected from him. He cannot display emotions, he cannot cry. He will have to show his toughness always. That will pressurize him, and thus it will lead to a weaker ego. And then we do a much greater disservice to girls because we raise them to cater to the fragile egos of males. Similarly, we are doing a greater disservice to girls because we raise them to cater to provide for the egos of males. So, girls are supposed to raise the egos of males. We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful. Otherwise, you will threaten the man. If you are the breadwinner in your relationship with a man, pretend that you are not, especially in public. Otherwise, you will emasculate him. So these are the ways in which we do disservice to girls. Girls are taught to shrink themselves, to uh, make themselves smaller. Girls can have ambition, but not too much ambition. Girls can aim to be successful, but not so successful. Why? The reason is that if a girl is to be so successful, it will threaten the man. So, if you are the breadwinner, if you are working as a woman, pretend that you are not working, especially in public. Otherwise, you will emasculate him. Emasculate means deprive a man of his masculine, uh, his man of his male identity. So, these are our advices to uh, girls.